you, Andy, area director and fellow Toastmasters. Back in 2019, I got promoted to my very first management position. I was just a baby manager ready to make my mark on the world. At my company, I had worked my way up from entry level up a few ranks and finally got to be in charge of something. Now, I had the technical skills, I had the hard skills, but I was lacking a little bit in the soft skills. It was difficult for me to, say, give feedback, to do public speaking, and to really lead a project from beginning to end. But I really wanted to make the most of it. I did everything in my power to learn as much as I could. I went to HR trainings. I read a lot of books about leadership. And I leaned on my boss a lot, who gave me a lot of really helpful advice. But there was one thing that all of that training could not help me with: having a difficult conversation. I met Jason towards the end of 2019. He was my first direct report. He had just come to our company. I used to work for an insurance company. We doing statistics. He came on as a data scientist. He had his master's degree from Columbia University. Very, very bright person from the time I could tell from the moment I met him. He had all sorts of advanced backgrounds. He had all sorts of really good ideas and really great experience under his belt. He was also a little bit of an oddball. He would wear these very tight, brightly colored dress shirts, tight pants, and he had this swagger as he was walking around the office. I didn't see that so much from someone on their first day. He had this Cosmo Kramer hairdo going on, and he like gelled it in just the right way to cover up some of his receding hairline. And he had this very thick accent, and it did not help at all that he would speak as quickly as possible and he would mumble as he was speaking. We often had to ask him to repeat things a couple of times just so we would understand it. But he was, like I said, very bright. We finally got him on his first big project. He was getting ready to present his findings, his proposal to management. And then COVID happened. We all got sent home. We all started doing all of our meetings on Zoom, just like this. And he was March 2020, he was getting ready to do his first big presentation. Now, leading up to that presentation, I was doing my best to get him ready for it. We worked on creating the slide deck together. We talked through how to put together each of the slides, how to present the information without reading off the page, and how to tell a story throughout the presentation to help the audience get to the conclusion we wanted to sell. Jason did terrific, terrific technical work, and he was very receptive to the feedback. We worked on speaking slowly and enunciating. And we also made sure to stop and pause and explain complicated ideas to the audience in order to help them get the message we were trying to give. But there's one thing I did not prepare him for. So the day of the presentation, we are all on Zoom. And for anyone who remembers doing virtual meetings back then, instead of dress clothes, we were all wearing t-shirts. Now, the presentation was a pretty big audience. It included my boss and his boss, who was the leader of a 200-person department. So we get on the Zoom call. I wave to my boss. I say, "Hey, Bobby." I wave to my boss, say, "Hey, Bill." And we're all wearing t-shirts. It's a little bit more casual than the office. And then Jason signs on. He is not wearing a t-shirt. He is wearing a bright white, fluffy bathrobe. And no one says anything. He just gives the presentation just like we planned. And he does a terrific job of it, by the way. We get the proposal approved, and then I get a message from my boss right after. Now he could be a little bit picky, so I figured maybe he had some items of feedback. He did not. He told me, Rohan, Jason was wearing a robe. And I was I've grown fond of Jason. I was trying to defend him a little bit. I said, well, he was covered up. I mean, it was like he was more covered up than us wearing t-shirts. And then Bobby said, Rohan, he was wearing a robe. I got the message. So I called up Jason. We go through the standard feedback, what went well, what didn't go well, things to aim for next time. And I get to the part of the conversation I'm not ready to have. And I get so nervous. I'm about to confront this person. I'm just so embarrassed to even do this. I'm about to tell him he needs to wear a different attire in a professional work call. And I can't even really speak at this point. I whisper, "Hey Jason, you're wearing a robe." And of course he can't hear me on Zoom. So what does he do? He leans in closer to the camera and his robe comes apart and I can see his bare chest. And I can't say anything at this point. I just gesture to my chest and he sees me and he looks down and he knows. After that point, he always made sure to dress for success. Thank you.